everyone. Welcome to another Saddleback webinar. We are thrilled that you are joining us today for another one of these great learning opportunities. As usual, we are starting our broadcast a few minutes early today to give you an opportunity to locate your control bar and get settled in and get comfortable with the platform. For those of you who are new today, you want to make sure that you find your control bar. It looks like this tall, skinny gray rectangle that you see here on the screen. This is going to allow you to interact with us and ask questions. It's where you'll find the question field. It's also where you will find handouts. So there will be some attachments there that will give you links to the resources that we will be sharing with you today, as well as handouts and a few other things. So make sure you locate that control bar. And if for some reason you are not able to locate it, something weird is happening, you're not able to locate it, please don't panic. About 2 hours or so after the conclusion of the webinar, we will be sending an email to all of the participants with a certificate of attendance, a recording of the webinar, and any of the links that were attached in the control bar. So if for some reason you can't find it, don't worry, you'll be getting everything that is in there today at the conclusion of the webinar. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Liz Mangus, Literacy Specialist at Saddleback Educational and webinar host. So I think a lot of you join us every week, and we're very grateful for that. I do want to add this week, before we start talking to our guests, that if you're not aware, Saddleback is on Twitter. Our handle is at SDLback. So if you do like to connect on Twitter, we encourage you, while you're waiting and getting settled in, go ahead and pick up your phone, go to Twitter, shout us out, let everybody know that you are with us today for this great learning opportunity. You'll also notice that our Twitter handle and our guest's Twitter handle is on the footer of every screen. So that way you can always find it if you want to go ahead and reach out to us on Twitter. We'll get started in about 3 minutes, but until then, let's say hello to Brandee, our guest presenter today. How are you, Brandee?
Hello, I am doing well. I am very excited to be here, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to share some technology tools and how you integrate them with reading strategies. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is we're really excited. Well, we get excited about every webinar, but I'm really excited about this one because I love the integration of technology tools into reading instruction. So I just think this, we're sharing with you today some really fun things that you'll be able to integrate and use with your students. So thank you, Brandee, for taking the time to be with us today and help us create this material for everybody. Now, you are in California, is that right?
I am in Southern California, and if you watch the news today, I'm not at the beach. I am here with you on my lunch, enjoying some good conversation and some fun strategies. So I'm in Southern California, yes, Orange County. So I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from North Dakota, Fargo. Oh. So if we have any Midwest friends out there, I think the snow has finally melted. I have a lot of friends that I stay connected with back there, and they had a last minute blizzard, but I think it's better now. So.
Oh my gosh. I'm from Buffalo, New York, so I definitely understand the cold and the snow, and I prefer the weather here in Texas. That is does get really hot over the summer, but I still prefer that to cold and snow, and that's just the way it is. So
I agree.
I think the weather is finally starting to get a little bit more spring-like up there. So all of our attendees today who are in the cold northern states, hang in there. Spring will be here, should be here very, very soon. So gosh, it's almost May, isn't it?
It is Friday.
Oh dear, I can't believe it. Okay, well, with that, it is 3 o'clock Eastern time. So let's jump right in to our webinar today. I see our numbers are still climbing. We still have people joining us. So let me just go through the housekeeping bit one more time here. As you are logging in today, please locate your control bar. It should be on the right-hand side of your web browser, and this is where you will be able to interact with us to ask questions and locate any handouts that we have there for you, to include links to resources that we will mention during our webinar today. And again, at the conclusion of the webinar, 2-3 hours after the webinar, we will send a link to the recording, your certificate of attendance, and any other handouts or attachments that are there in the control bar. You will find Twitter handles on the footer of every slide today. So we encourage you, please tweet at Saddleback, SDLback, or at well, it's Brandee, TUSD. So we know a lot of educators are on Twitter. So go ahead and let everybody know that you are joining us today. All right. Today, we are going to be talking about technology tools that we can use to teach reading comprehension. And the reason we chose this topic for a webinar is because there are a lot of unknowns out there right now. I'm just now beginning to see articles in the news and online about school districts and what they are thinking the school year is going to look like for the upcoming fall. And a lot of people are kind of brainstorming and trying to make decisions, but we don't know if we're going back to normal, where all the kids are going to a traditional brick and mortar situation. We don't know if our students will need to continue to stay home and learn remotely, or if it's going to be some combination of the two. So with all of these unknowns floating around out there, we were just thinking, what can we do at Saddleback to be of service to educators at this time? And it's a small thing, but one of the things that we thought we could do is talk about some classic reading comprehension strategies that we know work in the classroom, and talk about how you can pair those strategies with available technology tools. So that way you have a teaching tool that can work in a few different instances. And that way that will give you some options and hopefully spark some creativity as you're thinking about how you can plan for what's to come. And to help us with this today, we have Dr. Brandee Ramirez, and she is going to talk a little bit about who she is, but I want to give her a little bit of an introduction. She is currently a middle school CTE teacher in Tustin Unified School District, which is in California. She is co-author of a Saddleback book on teaching reading comprehension strategies, and she is one of the most passionate educators we know, and she has worked very hard with us to develop this webinar content today, so we're very excited to have her. Brandee, again, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity, Liz and Saddleback. I've been teaching for 20 years. 13 of those years were in the elementary setting, and then 5, which equals 18, so I'll get to the next 2, but 5 of those years were coaching. And our district passed a bond, a technology bond with 1-to-1 devices in grades 5th grade and up, and then 3-to-1 devices in K through 4. And over the past 6-7 years, we've used coaches to help focus on how to integrate technology with instruction. And so we have a variety of coaches now, but in the very beginning, we were called digital learning coaches. And our main focus was to coach around technology integration. So I did that for 5 years. I worked a year with an educational technology company. And then this past year, I am back working in a middle school setting with media production and coding and programming, computer sciences. I also in there got my doctorate in education with the focus on, do coaches help support teacher efficacy when it comes to integrating technology? And so that's been the bulk of my teaching and my education experience. But I also have 4 kids of my own, and they are all middle school age. I have 2 11-year-olds, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And so I feel like I understand where the teachers are coming from when it comes to this new reality that we are all facing. And I feel like I also understand where the parents are coming from, because I have four children that are distance learning on a daily basis with me here. So I think you should believe in kids. They've got amazing things, and we got to just all hang in there. I'm just glad to be here, and I hope I can share some fun tools and tips that you can use with your students and even with your own kids at home.
Thank you. I know our viewers are really excited to hear from you, especially because you're currently in the classroom, and everybody wants to know kind of what everybody else is doing. So now that you know a little bit about us, we kind of want to know a little bit about you. So we're going to launch a poll here, and what we're interested in learning is about what tool you're currently using to teach your students. So are you using Google Classroom? Are you with Canvas or Schoology or none of the above? Maybe you're just using paper and pencil. What is it that you are doing with your students currently? Okay, we've got some answers coming in. Oh, this is interesting. We're going to give it a little time because we want to give everybody a chance to vote. So got some answers coming in. Okay. I think I made a prediction about what the answers would be, and I think I might be surprised. Okay. So it looks like, Brandee, we have most of our attendees today are using Google Classroom, and that's the majority. And then we have 26% who are doing paper packets, emails, and phone calls. So what do you make of those results, Brandee? Does that sound about right to you?
That is sounds exactly right on my end. That's what we are using as well. Google Classroom is our main learning management system where we're sharing information and instruction through that platform. But we also have pencil, paper packets, phone calls, emails, and even text messaging via Remind. So yeah, that looks very exactly like what's happening in my district.
Okay, that's pretty much what I was thinking too. I think by far a lot of the districts that I interact with, my local district where my daughter goes to school, Google Classroom is kind of the go-to right now. So now that we have a little bit of that information from you, Brandee can talk to us a little bit about our learning overview and what we can expect to learn today.
All right, so we are going to be focusing on 3 reading strategies and 3 different technology tools that can support those strategies. But not only that, we want you to be thinking about these strategies as we share them, the reading strategies along with the technology tools, and be thinking about which ones you like, how you can use them in other ways in your classrooms, and then and what are the next steps look like for you when it comes to instruction online. We will also be sharing out some different student examples from each of these technology tools that are supporting these reading strategies.
Awesome. So we're just going to jump right in. I feel like we had a lot of chatter and banter at the beginning, but here we go. So the first strategy that we're going to talk to you about today is a before reading strategy. And this is the scan and sketch strategy. I'm going to be talking a little bit about just an overview of the strategy and what it would look like in a traditional classroom with paper and pencil and what used to be the normal format for schooling. And then we will kick it over to Brandee, who will talk about a technology tool that can be used with this particular strategy. And that will be our format as we go through. So the scan and sketch strategy is the classic strategy that we use to preview a text. So we use it before reading, and the purpose of it is to activate prior knowledge. And the reason we tend to explicitly teach a strategy like this is because a lot of our struggling readers don't really understand what proficient readers understand, which is a proficient reader will pick up a book and without even think about it, look at the title, look at the table of contents, look at the back, flip through it and skim it and scan it. And so for our struggling readers, we need to make that practice visible and make it concrete. So with this strategy, you would guide students by giving them the steps for previewing and scanning a text. So essentially taking a book like the one you see here, The Underdogs, and looking at the cover, flipping through it, finding any words that stand out or are highlighted or appear over and over again. Take a look at any illustrations that are in there. And the purpose of this is for students to make connections to any materials they may have read in the past that are similar, or any personal experiences that they've had in the past that are similar, so that they have some sort of foundation for rooting their understanding of the book as they begin to read it. Now, after the scanning has taken place, the product that the students are expected to create is a sketch of the cover of the book, along with listing words or phrases that show up repeatedly or appear to have some sort of importance in understanding what the text is about. The reason we like this strategy and thought it was worthy of pointing out to you today is it's very simple to do in a classroom with paper and pencil. If you want to get fancy and bring out your other art supplies, you can certainly bring out your other art supplies. The other thing is that there are lots of tech tools out there that you can connect to this to heighten the engagement, but you don't necessarily need the technology tools to teach this. But the technology tool piece of it will, again, heighten the engagement and also give another option for students to use this strategy at home if they are able and if they so choose. So Brandee's going to talk to us about a good tech tool for scanning and sketching as a means to preview a book.
Yes, and as you said yesterday, it adds a little sparkle, which
Yeah.
I love. So the sparkle is a scan and from the app Sketchbook. So the technology tool that we're looking at now, it's called Sketchbook, and it's basically a free painting and drawing app that looks like a white piece of paper, just like you would use in your classroom with your art supplies and your paper. But it is so engaging because of all of the additional tools that it has. And you can pull images from online. Students can take pictures of the cover of their book that they're sketching. They can draw with like, there's thousands of colors to choose from. And so it does add that sparkle, and it is fun and engaging. And so what we've done for our 3 technology tools that we're sharing with you today, we've created some screencasts because, as we know, technology isn't always reliable, and we wanted to walk you through what they look like when you're in the app or the program, but we thought it might be safer to just show you a screencast. So we're going to do that next. And like we said in the beginning, please be thinking about which ones you like and how other ways that you can use them in your classrooms. So here is the scan and sketch reading strategy with the app Sketchbook. Let's look at the scan and sketch reading strategy using the app Sketchbook. Sketchbook is a quality drawing app that gives students a creative way to take notes. For this reading strategy, we will use the book, The Underdogs. When you open the Sketchbook app, it's basically like a blank piece of paper. You have writing utensils along the left-hand side where you can choose different colors. And then across the top, you have other tools that we'll look at and explore in a little bit. I'm starting with just the black pen to write down the title of the book, because as a student, and I'm doing the scan and sketch reading strategy, I first look at the cover and look at the pictures and then scan the book throughout. Now, I've already saved the picture of the underdogs in my photos, so I'm grabbing that by clicking on the top tool that has a picture of the landscape and the plus. On the right-hand side, you have the blank pieces of paper or the layers of the image that you're creating. And so I'm not drawing right on the picture of the underdogs cover. I actually added, by clicking the plus at the top, another piece of paper which acts as a transparency. And this gives me a little more confidence when it comes to the drawing of the picture, since I might not think, hey, I'm not the best drawer, but if I can trace over the top, I have a little more confidence in my image when I'm doing the scan and sketch strategy. As you can see, I'm changing the different colors of that circle. So you just click on that circle under the writing utensil that you're using, and it gives you the opportunity to change to whatever color you'd like in order to match the picture that you're drawing or tracing. I've also zoomed in on the image because I want to be more accurate, and then you can zoom back out when you see the final product. Next, I'm actually going to delete the original cover. So you click on it and then you click delete, and there you go. Now you have your pseudo picture. I probably would have added a few more details to that. But at least I feel like, oh, that looks like the cover of my book. Next, I'm going to change my writing utensil, and I'm going to start labeling. As I've scanned through the book, I'm sketching out and writing down the things that I see, the big ideas, the vocabulary words that I'm gaining from my scanning and my sketching. So that was the scan and sketch reading strategy using the app Sketchbook.
So a couple of things pop out to me as I watch that video, Brandee. First of all, I saw that there were not very many words on that. It was all images of pens, pencils, symbols, and things like that. And that immediately made me think of our beginner English learners or newcomer students who perhaps might have an easier time navigating an app like this that's not so language heavy, and it makes it a little bit more intuitive. And would you say an app like this is pretty intuitive for your students?
Absolutely. I think that is something that at the beginning of the year, when I brought this to my middle school students to use, I had a whole planned out lesson. I was going to walk them through each piece of the app and all of the tools. And before I even pulled up my slide deck to start my instruction, they were already diving in and using the tools. So yes, they are definitely those digital natives, as we say, and they just dove right in. I think the part where they did have questions and were wondering what to do next was at the end, and that was when it came to saving it. So do they keep it in the gallery within the app, or do they download it to their device and then do something with it from there? So that's where I think a little bit of guidance needed to come in. And that's also preference on teacher. You know, where are you storing these things? Where are they uploading them to? How are you looking at them with your students? So that was really the only area. Everything else, I mean, they were just, and they're not afraid. They just click and go, and it was really fun. So it allowed me to then, as they explored the tools, it allowed me to walk around and check in and see what they were doing and conference with students on what they knew from the stories that they were reading.
Yeah, I love it. I just think that it's for me, it looks kind of intimidating because it looks like all these bells and whistles, but I'm sure if I got in there and started playing with it, it'd be pretty simple. But I think for our students, it's probably not that intimidating because it's pretty evident when you look at it. It's for coloring and creating and doing art, and it seems pretty straightforward. So
yeah. It also lends itself really well to your English language learners because even if they're not necessarily sure of the vocabulary, they can find some of those words throughout the story, and then that can, you know, they can type them with the text feature. They can draw a picture as you're talking with them and having that conversation around it. The two images that we have here are student samples, and the one on the left, World's Ugliest Dog, is from a 5th grader, and they were studying, she was reading this book, and I think the one caveat is that they tend to, as you can tell on this one, much better than the one I drew. They can dive in a little deep when it comes to, when you have the kids that really want to go deep and be creative and like really add details. So I think that's the only thing, is sometimes I had to actually, you know, stop them from doing it to move on to the next thing. But you have a lot of pride in your work, especially if you don't feel like you're the best artist, because you can trace and your images look very similar to the book and the stories that you're reading. So you can take pictures from the books or pictures from wherever, or save them and download them from online. And then the student on the right was also doing the Underdogs book, and that student didn't like to see their own handwriting, and so they preferred to do the text. So it's also nice too, because you just have so many, you can just really differentiate among your students and meet their needs. And so I really love this app.
I love it. Me too. I bet this is going to be one of the favorites from today. We'll see at the end.
We shall see. We should have made predictions, right? Like the draft.
Yeah. I kind of think it might be this one, but we'll see.
Okay.
Let's check out another reading strategy. So this is the characters inside and out strategy. Now, this is a during reading strategy. And again, it's a classic. We're not reinventing the wheel here, coming up with brand new teaching strategies. I'm hoping that you're noticing this, that these reading strategies are, they've been around for a while. And the purpose of this is really to kind of take what we already know works in the classroom and then scan the landscape of what's out there in terms of technology tools and try to match things up. And that's a way to get started when thinking about trying to prepare for all of this uncertainty that we have out there right now about school. So characters inside and out is a during reading strategy that's meant to identify character traits. This is one of my favorite things to teach ever, because it's kind of a gateway into deeper thinking. Students will obviously start out with identifying very obvious external observable traits about a character, like, oh, this character likes to wear fancy shoes, or this character likes to eat potato chips, or, you know, whatever it happens to be. But the great thing about teaching this strategy is that not all of a character's traits are explicitly stated in a text. So that brings in a level of inference that needs to occur, where students have to examine a character's words and actions to determine what those things show about him or her. And in order to teach this, it helps if you're starting with a character that is well known to the student. It may be a movie character. You might want to start there. It may be, I don't know, it might even be somebody unknown to them, somebody in their family, just to get a gist of how analyzing a character works. And then you can move it to a text. But from there, once you have a model, then what you can do is, again, have the student sketch a picture of the character, what they think the character looks like, and then create a T-chart of outside traits, which are, of course, those, in my opinion, those are the things that are more than likely explicitly stated in the text, and those inside traits where the student will have to do a little bit deeper of a read and use inference to come up with what those traits are. And again, I also wanted to point out that if you have a student track how a character's traits change from the beginning to the end of a story, now we're talking about how a character changes over time, and we can also maybe pull that out and start talking about potential themes of a text as well. So you can actually do a lot with this, and identifying character traits is a way to open the door into some of these deeper thinking strategies. So at the end of all this, the student will have a picture and a T-chart of traits, which you could, if you wanted to, expand and have students list text evidence as well for this. But again, you can do it in the classroom on a chart paper. Students can work in pairs, creating their own like poster, if you will, or they can do it individually. And they can do it, of course, individually at home. If our students are at home learning remotely and they prefer to do something on paper and pencil, they can do this with paper and pencil. However, there is, in my opinion, a much cooler option. So this is the technology tool for characters inside and out that Brandee found for us.
All right, some more sparkle. Chatterpix Kids. I have been using this app for the last 7 years, and I started out using it with students in kindergarten, first grade. Because it's a very user-friendly tool, there aren't a lot of clicks. It's like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, and then you have a product. So it's also very engaging. And we also found that those first and kindergartners and first graders, they love to hear their voices. So it's a wonderful tool to connect what they're reading to different points of views or different character traits inside and out, or whatever it is that you're studying. They can take a picture and use an image. They draw a line. They have 30 seconds to record the information, and then it saves to their camera roll. So like a small video. So it's just a great tool. I love it for even my older kids because of the short recording time, they have to be very specific in their information. So, you have character traits. It's, sometimes we can go on and on, right? Like I can do as myself as well. But it's nice because it's 30 seconds and then you move on. So if they do have more to record, they can find different images and continue recording and put it all together. And we'll talk about that afterward. So this one is character traits inside and out using the app ChatterPix Kid.
Let's take a look at the reading strategy, characters inside and out using ChatterPix Kid. ChatterPix Kid is an app that allows students to record their voice on an image and share their thinking. We are going to use the book World's Ugliest Dog. In this story, I know that one of the main characters, Tana, cares a lot about dogs by this specific text evidence. So I will use that text evidence to support my ChatterPix Kid activity. You can take a picture from the book, or you can find an image from online to use in this app. Once you save the image to your device and you are in the app, you then pull up that image, and we're going to use that image for this activity. And I just want to note, for our purposes, the app is vertical, therefore you can't see all of the picture, but you'll get the idea. You find the picture, you put the line across it, and then you record what you want it to say.
Record in 3, 2, 1, go.
The nice part about the app is it gives you a countdown so you know how long you have to record. And it's basically 30 seconds of information that you can record. Since we're talking about character inside and out, we're sharing how much she cares about dogs. Another thing I like about this is that it's really easy to redo. So students will listen to themselves as they've recorded and then go back, and if they don't like the way they sound, they can just very quickly re-record, which is also great for fluency. So once you have saved your image, drawn the line, recorded your voice, you can then have some fun with it. You can add stickers and different filters. Oftentimes I have students put their names so that you can add text. And it's just a fun little feature at the end to give it a little more flair. Then the final step is exporting it to your camera roll, and it saves there just like your photos or videos. It's not the dog's fault that it's ugly, it's just luck. Like with people, what matters isn't how a dog looks, what matters is how a dog acts. So that was ChatterPix Kid, characters inside and out.
I love that one. So cool.
Yeah, that is a favorite among all ages. And I said in the video, I just briefly touched on fluency. And so just to kind of elaborate on that, it's a wonderful tool for your English language learners for that sense, because they are engaged and they have ownership because they chose the picture, and then they record their voices and they can play it back and listen to it. And so it's just a nice way to practice speaking and a fun way. So the picture that we have here, or the image, is actually a two fourth grade students. They were studying, they were reading The Great Horn Spoon, and they were giving character traits inside and out, and they were talking about one of the characters. And so they were sharing like what he did and to make that connection with that character. So
Okay, so let's see that.
I gave haircuts to minors for free. I got the gold dust out of their beards so I could keep the gold dust.
How cute. That's
So
cute.
what's fun with that, as you can see, it wasn't just one student either. They're collaborating, they're working together, they're laughing, they're having fun, but they're learning about the characters, and so making those connections. And so doing all of the part of the reading strategy up front prior to, and then taking that information and delivering it through this technology tool.
And we have one more. Which one is this one?
So this one is a first grade student, and they were studying schema, and they were making text to self connections with the characters in their books. So she took a picture. She was reading this book during her independent reading time. She took a picture of it, and she was making that connection of looking at the character traits of this specific character from this book. And so she, the little girl in the classroom, the student, was feeling very connected to this character in the book because the student didn't like to eat her food and she just wanted to play. And as you'll hear, this is the connection.
This reminds me of when I was little. I didn't eat my food. I said I wasn't hungry. My mom said I just wanted to play.
Aw.
I know, I love it. So yeah, it's just a great way to make those connections with their reading, but to also share, through the lens of the character that they're reading and those character traits inside and out.
Absolutely. I just love this one. Oh, I love them all, but this one seems, again, like it's very intuitive for the students, and that it's just simple to use and it's fun. And they can draw, if they wanted to, they can create their own picture of something on paper and pencil and then take a picture of that and then use it in the Chatterpix. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's how we actually started using it. They were doing art, Meet the Masters, and they were taking pictures of their artwork and then making the artwork talk via the artist. So they were giving out information that the original artist who they were studying shared about that information through the artwork via Chatterpix Kid. And so you could get really wild and crazy, and you could use your sketchbook app, that sketchbook app, so kids could actually draw out, so they could trace, or they could take a picture from online of something. They could draw it, sketch it, create it, save it as an image, and then use that in your Chatterpix Kid app to have it talk and share information. And so we used to call it app smashing. So that's a little wild and a little extra bonus for you. But also, I think you can, like I said earlier too, with the older kids, if they need more recording time, or the younger kids, but if you need more recording time, you can record multiple Chatterpix Kids and then put them also app smashing into an iMovie app and create one. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use it. And again, I think the only thing that I found was sometimes we had to limit the amount of stickers they were putting on in the end, or filters. That's always fun on the back end, the flare, the sparkle. But otherwise, kids are very engaged when they're using this app, and it's a great way to support the reading strategy characters inside and out.
Great. Well, be thinking about, now we've looked at Sketchbook and Chatterpix, so we've got one more to share with you, and then we're going to find out which one you like the best. So our third reading strategy is storyboard the text. Now this is your after reading strategy, and this is, it incorporates several skills, but what it really gets at is the dreaded summarization. Now we know students who struggle with reading comprehension really have a hard time with summarizing text. So this is a great strategy to help students get to the root of that and really be able to summarize very well. So what this strategy does is you take a chapter or an entire book, or however you want to do it, and you guide the students in finding 4 key details. Now this is huge because the reason that summarizing is so hard is because sometimes the students can't figure out what's an important detail and what's not an important detail. So we're working with them to figure out what are the key or important details. And if we need a little bit more guidance with that, the key question here is, well, if this part of the story was skipped, would the book still make sense? And if the book would still make sense, then it's probably not a key detail, right? So this whole exercise is really getting at the root of identifying key details, putting them in a proper sequence, and then using that to build a summary. So once you have your, let's say, 4 key details from a chapter or from a book, then students will be able to sketch a little image of each of those key details, sequence them, and then write a short description of what's happening for each event, excuse me, in the drawing. And they can then use this to build a summary. Now, I'm sure you're noticing a theme here that these reading strategies we're all sharing involve some sort of sketching and drawing, and that's because making things visual is a really important support for students who are either struggling with reading comprehension or just beginning to learn the English language. So we're really big on sketching and creating visuals to increase that comprehension. So this is a great after reading strategy. It hits a lot of different skills, and Brandee has a great tool for introducing us to storyboarding with online with Storyboard That, right, Brandee?
Yes. All right. So Storyboard That is a wonderful tool that I've used with elementary students, but even more so recently with my middle school kids. And it's been great because when you are creating media, you definitely want to, when you're creating stories in media, you need a storyboard. That's where you start. And so we always start with pencil and paper and we write stuff down, but this is really engaging and it has so many visuals that the students can use. So just tons of them. And then from not only giving students that choice to choose what they want and pick, they also have the option to even change those out. So there's a lot of customization and choice when it comes to Storyboard That. So we are going to look at a quick screencast of that. Storyboard the text with Storyboard That.
Okay, here it comes. And I'm getting a notice that I need to plug in my computer, so I will do that.
Let's take a look at the reading strategy, Storyboard the Text, with the program Storyboard That. Storyboard That is an online storyboard with a simple drag and drop interface and a large collection of custom artwork. For today's purposes, we are using the book Jump from the Heights collection from Saddleback Publishing. You simply Google Storyboard That and sign in with your Google credentials. Then you can begin creating your storyboard. The storyboard we are creating today is a representation from chapter 1 in the book Jump. As you can see, you simply click on characters, drag and drop, and then you can customize each of those characters or items. Customizing really allows students to visualize what they just read in the story. Now I'm going to add text using speech bubbles. The yellow speech bubbles will represent my big takeaways from what I read, and the round speech bubble at the bottom is simply labeling that this is chapter 1. Therefore, if I wanted to create multiple storyboards for each chapter, I would have it labeled and know which one corresponds with which chapter. Once I'm done with this first block, then I'm going to move on to the next one. You could use the storyboard for your entire book, or you could use a storyboard for each chapter. Like I said previously, I'm using this one for each chapter. So now I'm into the second part of what I read, and that is that the boys are going in and they are hiding for 5 hours in some cabinet. So I'm writing that out to be aware of what I read. Now, in the free version of Storyboard That, you are only allowed 3 boxes. So my workaround for that is to create 2 of my ideas, my big takeaways in one box. And that's fine. You can explain it to the kids. They could even put a line down the middle if you wanted. Now I've done the 4th one, and that is where they are actually running up all these flights of stairs. So I'm putting in my text information first, and then I'm going back and illustrating it. So now it's time to add my images or illustrate my text. And there is the cabinet that they're hiding in, and the clock is representing the time. After that, I'm going to find a gem in order to represent the gem that they are stealing. And then finally, I was looking for stairs. There are not any stairs, so I had to get creative, and I'm using the ladder image to create a variety of stairs going up. So it will tell you if they don't have the image that you're looking for. Oh, I also went back and added the building that they are entering from the beginning, because that reminded me as I read through what I was missing. So there are my stairs, and that is my storyboard. There you have Storyboard the Text with the online program Storyboard That.
So that looks fairly simple. It's just drag and drop, right? So
Yep, it's just drag and drop, and then you can choose what you want to put in. And it's great too if you don't spell things correctly. It gives you suggestions, so that's nice as well for students. I just love it because there's just so much choice for the kids, and it's just very clear, very simple, and pretty user friendly.
and this is something that you can do. It works great as a storyboard to help summarize a chapter or a whole book, but you can use it at different points in a text as well, just to try to get students to visualize different elements, right? I feel like this would have way more uses than just summarizing, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. We actually did a project where the students were taking some Saddleback books, and they were storyboarding the entire book out, chapter by chapter, piece by piece, whatever they needed. And then they were recording the kids were acting in the actual recording of it. So they were acting it out. So it became this little movie of the book, and they started with the storyboard and Saddleback books from the Storyboard That tool.
Awesome. And is this the student work sample here?
It's the same. There you go. Like there's the beginning. It's just blank. And then this one is another sample of the same story that I was showing in the screencast. They added some backgrounds. You can see the cute little director's board that I did not have, and they only used 3 instead of the 4, but and then showing their stairs going up with an arrow and stairs. So same gem though, but it's a great tool to use to support, and it's also helpful for your English language students because it acts also as like a graphic organizer to organize their thoughts, and with images if needed, only. So it's a great tool.
I love it. Well, that concludes our 3. We're not finished yet. We have more content for you, but because this is the end of the technology tool piece, we kind of want to hear from you to see which technology tool of the 3 that we presented today is your favorite. So if you could go to your control bar, and in the Q&A section, just drop a couple of words of which strategy you like, and we'll see if our predictions are correct. What are you thinking, Brandee?
Oh, probably the sketchbook one, I think too. I'm with you. But who knows? We shall see. I want to add too that the importance of giving students choice when it does come to technology or pencil and paper. I always want to make sure that my students, that if they want to write in paper, or if they want to use a Google Doc or a Google slide deck or storyboard that, it's really helpful to give them that choice and that option, because we are all different learners, and we all organize our thoughts in different ways. These are just tools to help support some of the instruction, but it's also extremely important to give kids that choice.
Oh, 100%. I totally agree. So I'm just doing a quick glance at some of the answers that people are putting in. I see a lot for storyboard.
Oh, okay, good.
Paula Ryan, I hear you. She says, I love them all. She can't pick. Yeah, storyboard seems to be, most people are seeing an immediate use for that given their current situation.
Good. Good.
You know what? I was thinking sketchbook. I think sketchbook is second, and then we have Chatterpix. But this is unofficial, you guys. Unofficial. It's just
Results.
don't quote me on this. But I'm seeing a lot of storyboard.
So Storyboard wins the Sparkle Award.
I think for now, yes. I don't know. Storyboard for the older students, yeah. I just wonder if I'm wondering if my teachers who are picking Chatterpix are elementary teachers. Just
I
wondering
can
about
see that. I can
Maybe.
see that.
So, okay. Until I try them, I don't know. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, well, yeah. I'm gonna call it with Storyboard. I'm going to call it Storyboard. I was wrong.
Oh, good. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Well, we have one more question for you guys. So you can't teach reading strategies without books. So we're interested in how you are getting reading materials to your students. We're going to launch a poll now. We're trying to find out, just kind of satisfy some curiosity that we have here. How are you providing reading materials for your students? Are they reading digitally? Are they reading print materials that your district has distributed? Is it a hybrid or is it other? So we'll give this about 45 seconds or so to give everybody a chance to vote. And then we'll have a little bit of bonus content for you before we sign off today. Okay. It's about 10 more seconds. Okay, results are in.
Oh.
It looks like most people have their students reading digitally, which is great. And then there's the print and online hybrid. So that's really about where I expected it to be, that most people would be looking to provide materials digitally. So, or there's some sort of combination going on. So that's good to know. And we all know that equity right now is a big part of the conversation. So I wanted to share these pictures that came from a district in Massachusetts. And this district, what they did was they wanted to get print materials into the hands of their students because they just were having some trouble getting some kids connected. And so they figured getting print books into the hands of these kids would be a way to keep them engaged and at least keep them reading. So you can see that they distributed the books, it looks like at the food distribution points. They also handed out a flyer with a QR code on it, and the code took them to a bunch of different activities that they could do and access through the smartphone. And this information was available in multiple languages as well. So these were for English learner students. And we just wanted to shout out this district for getting creative and working around the technology divide that they were encountering. And we, of course, just like to share these ideas to hopefully inspire you and let you know that there are solutions out there. So keep this in the back of your mind when you're thinking about how we are going to get reading materials to our students for the upcoming school year. And finally, some bonus material for you before we sign off today. I know that one of the biggest things that always helps us when we are faced with a new situation, especially in teaching, is to be able to look into, to be able to peer into somebody else's classroom or peek at their lesson plans. And so Brandee's kind enough to let us look into her Google Classroom today to see how she stays organized and connected with her students, and let us see her her distance learning slide deck and a few different tools that she likes to use with her students. So let me go ahead and give Brandee screen control so she can share with us some of those tools. And then we will be able to okay, I'm going to have to phone a friend here because I'm not able to change the presenter to Brandee right now. So Amber, behind the scenes here, may have the power.
Well, you haven't used any yet, so you're good. I think you have two phone a friends, so you're good.
Oh, there you are. Never mind, I see you. I didn't see you at first. Okay. There you go.
All right. Okay, so let's see, we are going to start down here and I will just briefly share this and if you have any questions, just let us know. I start with, like we said from the poll in the beginning, Google Classroom is what most of you out there, it looks like that you're using. So I created a distance learning Google Classroom. We've been using Google Classroom all year, but I wanted, when this started, we are in week 6, I wanted to create a separate one just to kind of, just to make sure the kids knew where everything was. So I have one slide deck. I have a new Google Classroom for distance learning. I have one slide deck that I've been using for the entire time that we've been learning remotely. And so each week is a different color on the right-hand side. And then basically I started with the first lesson being a teacher in our district created a quick Google Doc that was for remote learning and giving students this organizational tool. So this was actually their first assignment. These are middle schoolers, and we talked about, how are you going to stay organized with all of these different Google Classrooms and all of these different assignments, and just what does that look like? And so the kids put in their teacher and then where they can meet them and any links they needed in order to stay connected with that teacher. Does the teacher use Remind? Do they use email? What's the best way to get a hold of your teacher? And then any sort of due dates and assignments that they wanted to keep separate as well. So that was one thing that has been really helpful for my students and for my own kids as well. And then I also do a video on Mondays. I'm not going to make you sit and watch it, but we call it Where in the World. And so I use the green screen app Do Ink, and I broadcast a quick 30-second video, and it's questions about where I'm at and what it means. And a lot of times I'll do it around this date and time or whatever, but it's a fun way to get the students engaged. And then they watch that, and then they either reflect in the O-tilt or they answer it in the O-tilt. And that's down here on the bottom. And that is, we've been using this all year as well. It's called One Thing I Learned Today, and it initially was our ticket out the door, and now it's our ticket to stay connected. And so they write down, one thing that they learned. And I tell them, this is anything. We are at a very, very uncharted time in our lives. And so it can be one thing you learn from your family today. It can be one thing you learn from your teacher, just one thing. And so it's been a great way to see what they write. Initially, it was to help guide my instruction. And it's been fun to see them reflecting on a daily basis. So let's see here, we'll go back. And I think that's it. Oh, lastly, I also gave them like a workflow. Like, this is what Monday looks like. This is what the teacher will do, setting up those expectations for the kids. And then this is what the student will do. And so just another quick overview of what their week looks like. But again, this is just for me. And these kids have 6, 7 teachers, right? In middle school throughout the day and in high school. And so it's a lot for them to manage. I know that we've all been quote, so to speak, thrown into this, but so are the kids. And not only that, they're missing kind of their favorite thing in their worlds, and that's sadly not us teachers, but their friends. And so it's just a whole new a new thing that everyone's dealing with. So anyway,
yeah. That O-tilt is just a Google form, yeah?
It is just a Google form, and it's got 3 questions on it, and that's it. And like I said, we've been using it all year, and it's just been a great way to stay. It was a great way to stay connected in the classroom, and it still continues to be that remotely. So, all right.
Good ticket, which is awesome. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so now we're back on my screen, and thank you so much for sharing and being willing to share your Google Classroom with us. I know it's super helpful for everybody to have a chance to see what teachers are doing. Our parting message to you today is, this sums it up right here. Stay strong. We know it has been really, really difficult for everybody, teachers, parents, students, and we just want you to know you are doing a great job. We know that you hold yourself to very high expectations, and it may feel like every day you are not meeting those expectations that you set for yourself and you're falling short. And we just want you to remember to take deep breaths, and it's remarkable what you've been able to do to switch gears like this and be able to have some sort of continuity in communication and connection and learning with your students given this situation. So summer is almost here. Hang in there, everybody. Next week's webinar will be with Dr. Catherine McKnight. Actually, she will be with us for 2 weeks in a row discussing the reading gap, especially in light of COVID-19. We're anticipating some serious reading slides and math slides. We're going to be talking specifically about reading though, of course. And what can we do as we're thinking ahead to being able to help close gaps in reading achievement? So she'll be with us for 2 weeks in a row discussing differentiation and helping to close the achievement gap in reading. Please register. You will receive an email prompting you to register, but you can also register on our website, stlback.com/webinar series. And now we'll move on to a couple of question and answers. We are going a little bit long today, but we'll take a couple of questions. Let's see. We have, Brandee, a couple of specific questions for you about some of the tech tools. And on the sketchbook, how are you drawing? Were you using a stylus or your finger?
I was actually using my finger. That is a great question, and that's why the student that actually put in text for their words, we didn't have a stylus then, and so they were using their finger and they didn't like it, so then they used the text feature where they could type it in. So yeah, it depends, but you can change the width of all of the pens. So not only can you change the color, but you can change like if it's a skinnier line or a bigger line. And so I found that the kids like the stylus, that's for sure, but it's definitely doable with your finger, especially the younger, not as big of fingers,
Yeah.
Smaller fingers.
How is the student getting their work to the teacher if they're using these apps like the ChatterPix or the Storyboard? How do they get that to you so you can review that?
So that's another great question. So we upload everything to Google Classroom. We actually did an assignment with Sketchbook a couple weeks prior to everything in our world changing, and they had to illustrate a joke of the day, and so they had to illustrate it without any words, and so we just had to be able to figure it out. And so they created those, and then they saved the image as a JPEG or as an image in their camera roll, and then they just uploaded it to Google Classroom. A lot of primary teachers use Seesaw as their method as well, in addition to Google Classroom, but K1, sometimes 2, will use Seesaw, and same type of thing, they can just upload there. So that's how we share.
Great. We have a question about your Where in the World videos. Can you talk about that again and explain how you use them? How do you use your Where in the World videos?
They are, right now, they started out as just no one can go anywhere, so I'll go somewhere and see if you guys can figure it out. So that's how it first started. And I have this hat that a friend of mine continually says, that looks like the Carmen Sandiego hat. And so I put that on, I put my trench coat on, and there I am in my bathroom with a green screen and my iPhone. So it started out like that. It's just kind of for fun. And now it's evolved just in this course of a few weeks to where the kids are giving me suggestions of where I should go, and then facts and information about those suggestions. And I'm even going to turn it over to students and have them create Where in the World videos on their end, and then we have to guess. So basically, I share the video on 2 days a week. We do not post assignments. So 2 days, no assignments, 2 days assignments. So the 2 days that the kids don't have a specific assignment, I post a Where in the World video, a different one on Monday and a different one on Wednesday. And then we meet every day online, and we just talk about it. We share, they can write it in the OTILT if they can't meet online, or they can share it out when we're in the meeting. And it's fun because they'll have suggestions, and then they'll, of course, they're like, oh, I've been there, or I mean, not a ton of them right now, but so yeah, it's been really fun. And again, started out from a random idea of just to get students engaged and thinking in different ways. So I'm excited to see what they come up with.
I love it. You have a couple of those videos on your YouTube channel that people could probably.
I do. Yep, I post them all there, and it's just Brandee Ramirez, I think, or Passion to no, I think it's I'll put it somewhere. I can post it on Twitter, and then I can share it out that way.
They're super cute. I think people are going to love them.
Yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow's. Tomorrow's is a really good one because they're media production kids, and so it's around a famous director. Just giving you guys no one else knows this. This is before extra bonus round.
Piece of information. We have 2 more questions and then we will wrap up. How has your district set up a guideline for the amount of work your students are to be engaged in during the day?
Yes, that's exactly where the 2 assignments on these 2 days and no assignments on this day, and then Friday is a reflection day. Our district has been extremely supportive, from our administrators at our school sites to our district level administration, have been extremely valuable and important, and very, very, very supportive with all of this new normal. And so, we're all trying to figure it out. We're all in it together. I don't know. I daily, the news and coworkers and social media, daily I look at like, okay, that could be a social experiment. That could be a social, like, it's just amazing to me, what everyone is dealing with and going through. And I'm thankful that you all are here. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I really have had a lot of support from our administration.
Well, I think we can leave it at that. We've gone a little bit over an hour now, and it's a little bit longer than we typically do. So thank you to everyone who's still here hanging in with us. We appreciate you joining us and learning with us today. For more information about Saddleback Educational Publishing, you can find us on all the social media, on all the socials. So please check us out, of course, on Twitter. Hopefully you've been tweeting about us today and letting people know that you are taking part in this great conversation. But we're also on Facebook and Pinterest and YouTube. Please check out our YouTube channel. In the control panel, you have a handout with links to Dr. Ramirez's screencasts that we showed you today. They're posted on our YouTube channel, so you can reference those. And you can, of course, search our website, sdlback.com, give us a call, send us an email, contact@sdlback.com. We are happy to take your questions and help you in any way that we can. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all that you do. And hopefully we will see you again next week. Take care, everybody. And thank you, Brandee.
Of course. Thank you.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye.